One of the most recent surprises on the car market is the Peugeot 508 in the newest generation. And ever since Brian tested it for the very first time, I was really interested, why are so many people talking about this car? I wanted to find out myself here on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Today with Thomas. An exterior, interior and the driving experience of this new vehicle, as always in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! So we are showing you the GT line today. Brian had the true GT model. Check that video out later when we have finished with this one. So the GT line already has the sporty styling with the sportier spoiler. This one is a dark blue color, by the way, but I think it has some purple nuances, or don't you think so? But for sure it looks very elegant. Also with this chrome style dot front grille, you see that those headlamps, they are drawn back a little bit to give a three-dimensional structure. And also another reason is that in a small front crash, the headlamps shall be saved, they say. It starts with halogen lamps and then you get the full LED lights as they're here, for example with the LED light package or also together with the GT line and also with the true GT model. So depending on the spec you pick, then you already get the full LED lamps. The LED daytime running light, by the way, is just placed here at the side. It's basically a vertical blade. 4,75 m or 15'6" is the total length of the Peugeot 508 or 508. In Germany, by the way, we say 508, so we say like 508 instead of 508. How is it in your country? Then the rims, they start with 16-inch, 17 would be then the standard for the GT line. This one here is optional 18 and 19 would be the maximum size. Here with the GT line you see all the dark styling, also dark frames around the windows, also black side mirror caps right there. I think the car would look a little bit better with chrome window frames. I mean, it's available, but what do you think? Or would you prefer the GT line here? There's also keyless entry available here. Put your hands on the outside, then also the mirror closes, or put your hand on the inside, it opens. Pretty cool. And then of course this sensual dropping line with this fastback style in the rear. I really like that. Also with the GT line badge right there. And you know, there will also be the SW available, the Estate, which will carry on further if you want some more space in the trunk area. But for sure, I think we can agree that they really hit the needle with the styling here. Pretty fancy also in the rear, isn't it? With those lion claws at the LED daytime running light. That is really a great idea to do. Also, it laps over a little bit in the top part, giving it a wind, like a wing effect. Just a small spoiler lip right there. So again, I think pretty amazing what they've done with the design here. Is also one of the key factors why there was so positive feedback about this vehicle. Unless we got the fake exhaust tip here in the lower part. Yeah. So we got all the 4-cylinder turbo engines. We have a 1.6 liter petrol engine with 180 or 225 horsepower. The latter one in the true GT version. All others you can also get here as today's GT line. For example, this one here today, the 1.5 liter diesel with 130 horsepower. This one starts also with a 6-speed manual gearbox if you want. But optional, or for all the other engines, you get the 8-speed automatic gearbox, a converter gearbox, for example also for a 2-liter diesel with 160 horsepower or 180 horsepower approximately. And later there will also be a plug-in hybrid. So let's take a look at the interior together. You can see here, instead of the doors, The top part is soft touch, like that, and then this carbon fiber style below that. And by the way, the special thing about this vehicle is, of course, that we have those frameless windows. And it also helps by getting in and out, by the way, because you don't have a thick frame around it, so in narrow parking corners it's easier. So right there you can also put bigger bottles, also like that, and then, I mean, this is really a unique styling for the interior. We already know it from the other new, bigger or mid-sized Peugeot models, like the SUVs, also with the seats. They start with fabric seats, then for the GT line, for example, or for the Allure line, this one here with fabric on the inside and leatherette on the outside, so visually very attractive. The inside is available as it is here in black, or also available in grey. That looks even fancier, I can tell you. We had that in the 3008 already. You can put the lower area a little bit lower. And in the GT model Brian had, it starts with Alcantara on the inside and leatherette as it is here on the outside. It looks almost the same, just that you would have Alcantara on the inside instead of fabric. But I would tell you to go for the seats exactly as they are here. Maybe then with the grey styling to have it even a little bit more unique. This one here a little bit more subtle, but this one here gives you good climate feedback in summer. It stays cool in summer and warm in winter. Really fancy and sustainable at the same time. Here then the steering wheel has this iCockpit. That means, well, what they mean by that, small steering wheel, flat bottom, sporty, computer game alike, and together with those very high sitting instruments we'll soon take another look at. Also interesting that this part here comes quite close to you and basically forms a kind of table, making it even more unique. So let's get inside. It's pretty easy. The door opens quite wide and you have a nice seating position. As I said, the seats are pretty cool. The only thing is that the cockpit is oriented in a very sporty way, so I wouldn't say you feel cramped, but not quite, but the cockpit is built around you, which is good for a sporty sense, but it doesn't give you too much room. And also the car is not built for the tallest people, so I'm 1m86 or 6'1". I totally fit in here, But especially when you have the glass roof as well, if you're taller than me, you might tend to get some problems. The steering wheel can be adjusted in height and reach. However, you have to put it all the way up as a tall driver, and then it is always blocking the lowest part of this cockpit view. You can still see the speed. I will elaborate more about that when we drive the car. The seats are available with electric function. We have the manual ones today. They also pump it up manually. The lower seat area can be made a little bit longer for longer legs. There's also this electric function available that you can put the front part lower or higher. I would rather recommend it just to let it in the lowest position. There's also electric lumbar support. And now about this very interesting interior. So when you hit the ignition, you can see the displays come to life. 12.3-inch digital cockpit on the left and on the right a 10-inch screen. This is really remarkable. I mean, it has this carbon fiber style, but in general, like the form, it comes way far towards you. Yes, it costs some space, also looks impressive at the same time. The top part here, it looks like leatherette. It isn't, but it just looks like it. It's really cool, also with contrast stitches, good idea. Soft touch material, horizontal layout here everywhere, and they have lost a lot of buttons. However, you have hotkeys here for the infotainment system, which you can really press, like for the sound. This is the climate unit. You can only control it here in the screen or also at the GPS right there. Soon, some more details to that. You can put your smartphone in either way a Bluetooth connection, or the other possibility is then to use the Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and also MirrorLink when you connect it with the cable down below. The lower part here with the 8-speed automatic gearbox, as I said earlier, there's also one engine driving wheel today that could also be combined with the manual drive mode we talk about when we drive the car. The very small steering wheel with the GT line badge down there, left side volume, right side you can change the music source, for example, or control a little bit of the infotainment system on the right. On the left side then you can control the instrument gauges on the left. And then in the lower part here we have some more storage area and adaptive cup holders like that, as well as a middle armrest with some more room. So one more look at this cockpit. You can see it right there. and you can change different modes in there. I mean, there was this boost or relax mode I showed you earlier, which does have an effect, but you can also change the whole perspective of it. For example, if you want to have the GPS more in it, or want to have, for example, more assistance system information in there. And you can see speed moves to the central part, and a little bit strange gauges right there. So really a lot of ways are available. This is in the minimum view. I more prefer the rather classic view where we have, like, for example, this. But again, you can switch it around as you like. So there's nothing wrong with the image. The screen is really driver oriented, so it's not exactly straight built in the cockpit. And what I want to show you is how the GPS looks like. So the responsiveness is quite okay. Also here with zoom in and out, it could be a little bit faster, but you can also very well see where you're going. The navigation software could be a little bit better maybe. But overall, the infotainment system gets you all you need. And you also have these profiles. When you hit this button, that you have a relaxing profile or a boost profile, and everything, for example, turns red. And you have this more sporty atmosphere everywhere and all the way around. And if you think about the CarPlay function, by the way, if you plug your phone in the lower area, so let's see here, unlock it, allow, and then you should also have the Apple CarPlay right here, and here we go, that's how it looks like. And about that rear view camera, it's somehow funny, because when you see how it starts, it does not give a view there, because there's the rear view camera here, like first of all the big picture, which is nice to have. It doesn't have the best resolution, but you should still get it. But here then this 360-degree view from above, this is the rear view camera image. And when you put it to front wheel drive again, you will also see there's nothing happening. But then again, if we put it to reverse, then you can see that slowly and slowly this image is building up. Why is that? Well, there are no side cameras for cost savings to this vehicle, that they can offer the system at a lower cost. And therefore, some parts of the image you can see are not live. They are built up by the so far collected image. Just the very rear part is always live. And yeah, that's below the shifting lever, and well, it's hard to reach this compartment. You can see you have one USB port and the second one here in the co-driver side, and then you can put in your smartphone there with the cable. A little bit complicated to reach it right there. You have to really dig deep, and then if you put it here to the middle area, and when the engine is actually turned on, there's also the inductive charging available. Maybe better when you use Bluetooth, because when you use the Apple CarPlay here, for example, you have your cable plugged in anyway. As for the panoramic roof, you have this shade, and then you can also open it like this. Pretty cool to have it to leave some more light. If you want more headroom, however, then just leave it out. Or if you're living in a very, very hot climate anyway, then always a fixed roof will also stay a little bit cooler, even if you have this shade. Also, the rear has those frameless windows, pretty fancy, and the same styling as also for the seat. But well, those pretty cool and thick seats have one disadvantage: they hardly leave any rear leg room when you have a tall driver in the front. And also the rear headroom, well, here it's really close. When you lean a little bit more to the rear, the roof raises again, and I can exactly fit in here, but I cannot recommend the rear part of this car for tall people. As for the headroom, it will be better in the Estate, in the Combi, or SW as Peugeot calls them. That will be better. However, the rear legroom will not change. So yeah, this is really cramped then here in the rear, and probably one of the downsides of this vehicle. And the details here from the rear: ISOFIX on the outside seats. Then there is this rear armrest available with some cup holders. The middle part you can also open it as a ski hatch, by the way. And you can also flip the seats from the rear already. And finally, in the lower end, there are 2 USB slots. So that's how it looks like when they are flipped. And you also see that the middle part can serve as a ski hatch. Here we go with the hatch. There's an electric version available. Here we have the manual one today. The good thing about this fastback layout is that you can easily load things in and out, and you can also see that the length is really proper. So the boot volume is just about 490 liters up to 1550 liters. So that's the total space you have. With the SW, it will of course be not limited in the height here. 12-volt power supply. This small part you can also take it out, but just usually leave it, and together with the top cover part it then closes it also off against views. And when you want to flip the other seats, you always have to go around here and then flip it right here, and this is then the maximum loading setup. So this is your driving part with Thomas. Thomas's driving lounge. And hey, when I'm in this sport mode, this goes quite quickly. So I can pick the driving modes here, sport, normal and eco. So the eco mode rather reduces the throttle input for some more better fuel economy. The normal mode is just in between them. And let's see if the steering changes in any way. So I go to the sport mode once again. Now lane change. I think the steering gets a little bit stiffer, just a slight difference, but the biggest difference is definitely the bigger throttle input, and also the gears are shifted up later and shifted down earlier. So if you want a little bit more boost, because in general, here also with the smallest diesel engine with 130 horsepower, this is the economy engine, so to say. So if you want a rather cheap entry price and also don't care about a big boost of acceleration, and since those diesels, even if they're a little bit smaller, always have enough torque, you'll still be just fine on the motorway as we are here at the moment. So even if you're at a little higher speed, you will still have enough power reserve than if you want to do some overtaking maneuvers or something. Sound insulation wise, driving now at 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour, it's okay. It's not super loud, but it's also not extraordinary silent. So in this respect, if you compare it to some of the other competitors, they are a little bit more silent, but still the car gives a good feeling. It actually sits quite sporty on the road, especially for for a French vehicle. So a lot of the French vehicles we have been testing are usually set on a more soft ride, but here if you see that the steering input is not too direct, but the suspension is one of the stiffest I've experienced in a Peugeot. Let aside the real sporty models, if you think about their sports versions we've tested, especially for the 308 and for the 208. So, but this one here is just a GT line. It's not like a super sports Peugeot version, but still it gives some decent feedback. Again, the steering, they don't have it tuned in a very natural sporty way. It is somewhat sporty because it's so small. That's, again, so unique also when driving this car. And I really like the concept because it is unique. I mean, everyone can do normal steering wheels, but they have chosen to do something special. And it gives you always really a very unique driving feeling. And it is somehow always fun. It is, however, quite soft. That's, again, good when you want to park in and out. Also because it's so small, it's very easy to ease the steering wheel around, like you're going back and forth, and so that's really easy with this car. And also when you then compare it to other competitors in the mid-size segment, this feels way easier than because it doesn't take you so much time to turn the steering wheel around. That's a very funny aspect for sure. Other than that, it doesn't feel too big, no. But it is somewhat cramped in the views you get from the inside out. From the outside, we all agreed on that. The styling really looks amazing. But there's always a cost to this styling. I mean, the A-pillars are quite thick. The rear window is very slim. To the side and the back, you know, in the rear there, you can hardly see. So I would strongly recommend you also to get those blind spot warners. I mean, this is basically like a coupe style car, somewhat, you know, also like with the no frame windows. But then again, also the B pillar is pretty thick. So there's not a good round view. That's, you know, one of the things you can criticize about this vehicle. So even more important that you get the assistance systems like the blind spot monitor and also the rear view camera. And this helps you then really getting along. Other than that, I can just stress again that the car gives you a positive driving feeling with this unique steering. Also, this unique cockpit layout does have a big influence on how the car feels while driving, because you know, somehow always look at it and you feel like you are driving a very modern car, a more extravagant car. You know, Citroën, especially with DS, for example, they always like to call it avant-garde, and I think in this case it counts more for the Peugeot here, that this cockpit is really avant-garde, because they have created something which looks modern, forward-looking and stylish at the same time. And you somehow also get this driving feeling when you drive this very vehicle. It does sit on the same platform as we mentioned earlier, like one of the, you know, some of the other Peugeot models, the new one also, like with the 3008. You also feel that they have a basic, you know, let's say a base layout which is somehow the same. So yes, it somehow feels like a lowered 3008, and when you're not this SUV fan, then this could be really something for you. Since the cockpit is really built around you, it also gives you a more sporty driving feeling. This is again very interesting, because I mean, some aspects are not that sporty. The visual aspects are definitely sporty. So I think for this car, it accounts that everything they've done visually for the feeling is sportier than the car actually drives. Which is again, you know, not to rate good or bad. It's always about, you know, what you actually want. And if you like to have a very sporty, cool styling, but think, you know, I don't need to have a BMW 3 Series, you know, I don't want to race the corners, I'm just fine by this, then it's maybe exactly the right thing for you. So we also have a cruise control, which you can get option also as in, let's see, here we go. So you set it on the separate column here at the steering wheel. Then you have like a plus and minus button. You do not see it, but you just feel it. And then the distance to the car in front of you is being kept. I can also always accelerate myself, of course. Let's just do it a little bit faster. Again, the diesel, even though it's a small one, gives you enough torque, so I cannot complain that it would have, you know, not enough power. Of course, the one Brian tested earlier, the big petrol engine, does have more power for sure. So if you seek more power, you can always get that one, or also the bigger diesel. So now the traffic light is red. Let's see how the ACC, some call it active cruise control, the adaptive cruise control. There are other brand names out there. So here again, distance being kept quite well. And now the cars are accelerating. I'm doing nothing with my throttle foot. Now the speed is increasing again. So far that looks quite cool, and it's also one of the options I would go for. So you know, the autonomous emergency brake is meanwhile standard equipment in a lot of vehicles. That's great. And the second tip would be the blind spot monitor, and the third one the adaptive cruise control. That's to me, you know, the most important assistance systems. So it seems to be that the blind spot monitor is not activated. So let's also see here on the left side of the steering wheel, we can also activate, for example, the active steering. This is basically something to keep the car in lane. As you can see here, I'm really being kept in lane. It's not meant to that you take your hands off the steering wheel, just showing you here that the car does that automatically. and so far also quite good result. Yeah, let your hands on the steering wheel, the car says, even Thomas. So now what about some acceleration? I'm going to the sports mode and doing from 70 kilometers to 100. So let's pass this car and then let's go. Here we go. So you see still some decent acceleration even if you're at higher speeds. Cannot complain about that at all. Really good. So now setting the cruise control again with this active steering, and again just to show you how the car does that. It's actually quite smooth without, you can see. Also in this bend here at the motorway, again do not take your hands off the steering wheel. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. You will see how the car does as well, and I'm able to step in at any second. Usually you do it like this, keep your hand on the steering wheel and just let the car do the job. It basically relaxes you in traffic situations, for example, where there's not so much to keep attention of, but still the car does it then for you. So that's very good. Yes, this car does not have a head-up display, but with this iCockpit, I have it basically in my line of sight, so I don't have to watch further down to the instruments. I think it's an interesting concept. However, again, if you're a little bit taller than 180 meters or taller than 6 foot, then even that you have to put the steering wheel in the highest position, and then the steering wheel, the top part, does cover some of this iCockpit. Yeah. I mean, so I can still see the speed. That's the most important thing. I can see the total kilometer run, and not the lowest part of the small, digital gauges there, the round digital gauges. But I can see the speed. This is the most important one. So, yeah, the concept does have a disadvantage, but still, I can live with that. So, still okay. The turning indicator always has this funny sound, this 80s style sound, like in an 80s computer game. I find it a little bit weird, but I've already read some comments, people saying I find it somehow funny, so why not? So now we're getting in a roundabout and see about this more agile part of the car, and also take a look at how far I have to turn the steering wheel to do that. See here, it's not directly as it would be, with the wheels on the ground. Car's tilting a little bit to the side. Again, suspension is not super sporty, but sportier than expected. The steering to me could be a little bit more progressive, that I have to steer a little bit less. Again, it's very easy to control. So I wouldn't exactly say that this car is much fun to drive it around in an agile way, but it still handles pretty well. So more set, again, as I said earlier, that your sportiness is satisfied in a visual way rather than in the driving experience way. But I think, it's totally fine to have this set up then for this vehicle. You're just a little bit slalom at 80 kilometers. Again, that gives you a good feeling, just a little tilting, but you remain controlling this vehicle. Brakes also with a good response. You don't have to hammer in so much that you get any result. So overall, I think they found a quite good setup if you don't expect the most sporty stuff. So let's also check here if we can activate the blind spot monitoring, because it's definitely there. So not all the assistance systems are put on the left side of the car. No, there's a blind button. You can deactivate the lane keeping assist as well, but in this car here it's actually quite subtle, so I didn't experience that the lane keeping assist would be too, see here, no, that one doesn't react on that. So it's not that it would react in a way that it would be super annoying or something. So now heading on to some countryside roads, setting cruise control. That's, by the way, you should not control the infotainment system while driving, of course, but if you really need to do something, it's always good to have the cruise control activated, for example, that, you know, in case you really miss something, the car is watching out together for you. That's maybe a good idea. So I really wonder why this, I mean, found no option so far about this, but I'll check it again when we're stationary and then get back to you again. So, blind spot monitor on. I thought so. So I wonder why that didn't work. Really strange. So yeah, maybe this car needs to be checked for that, because I mean, have you at some point seen the light flashing? I haven't. Really strange. Usually the Peugeot Citroën systems work in a way that the blind spot warner in the side mirror appears in the second the car is in the blind spot and not in advance. There was always a discussion about it, which system is better. Again, I prefer when I get a warning a little bit in advance, since cars also tend to accelerate and then sometimes maybe it might be too late. What I'll also do is, you know, actually we can shut off the car right now. So maybe sometimes when something is not working, it can help to restart the car. Then let's see about that. Maybe we can get someone to overtake us pretty soon again. So one thing that is also a little bit annoying is the AC for sure, because, you know, when you are someone that sets it on 22 degrees Celsius and set the AC on or something and just leave it as it is, you won't care. But when you're someone who likes to control the AC, sometimes make it a little bit warmer, a little bit colder, change where the air is coming from, top, middle, the bottom part or something, you know, then you're starting to do like this in the infotainment system, and that is really some distracting stuff for sure. So, and again, you save a lot of buttons. That is then less visually distracting, but somehow I still like the idea that you have separate climate knobs. Or what about you? I'd like to hear your feedback on that. The seat heating button is, by the way, also in a capacitive way constructed right here. That's actually quite interesting. Also gives you some kind of feedback. Then the automatic gear shifter. Usually you just leave it as it is. You can also put it to the manual mode, that the gear is being kept when you're, for example, driving down a hill or something. And always when you want to shift yourself, you can also do it like this here at the steering wheel in a sporty way. This 8-speed automatic gearbox, by the way, built by Ajlan. That's the supplier for this vehicle here. So you can, for example, here shift down, even a second gear, and yeah, turn it up. What they've also managed, by the way, is to insulate the diesel sound better from the cabin. So I like that. It is way calmer now than before in the predecessor, and also if you compare some of the other cars they have been building over the past years, so that you don't get this feeling like, hello, you're driving a diesel. No, it's actually quite okay. So I really can't complain about this diesel. It makes a good impression, and again, also power-wise, it's perfectly fine. And you know, the way we've driven here now was not in a super fuel-saving way. It was not very hectic, but we also had this one acceleration in there. We had city driving, we stop and go, and still we're just about, you know, just above. What was it here? Yeah, that's. I have to reach over. Oh, now I can read it. It's just above 5 liters on 100 kilometers, and that's pretty decent. I mean, it's a mid-sized vehicle, and that should be more than 40 mpg. I think 5 liters was 5 liters on 1 kilometer is 45 mpg. It's always hard to remember, because you know it's always funny, because with liters on 100 kilometers we of course want it to be as low as possible, whereas with mpg, miles per gallon, we want to have it as high as possible. That's really funny. But I mean, both units make sense in a way if you think about them. Still, it's funny that, you know, two totally separate ways are being used there, you know, depending on the country and the market. But yeah, fuel consumption wise, the PSA Corporation, Peugeot, Citroën and DS, now also Opel is getting their engines step by step. They're quite good as for the fuel economy. And with the petrol engines, also in the small and compact size cars, we also had quite good results. And I think I would be able to even get it lower. With the acceleration now we're at 5.5, but I'm pretty sure if I really know, like reset it and have cruise control on motorway or something, I could also get it lower. But I think it's overall good average. And again, a reason why you might be going for this 1.5 liter diesel with 130 horsepower, since you want to have it, fuel saving. Also, this one here then is equipped with the particle filter, and we really have to say that past diesels, especially Euro 5 diesels, for example, they weren't scoring that well in those test results. But the newer diesels, after the manufacturers had a lot of pressure, which is good. So when you buy a new diesel, they're indeed, if you compare them, relatively clean. Of course, it always makes sense to build an engine which is clean by itself, rather than making it clean afterwards with filters and SCR injection and so on. But then again, it's good to know that when you buy a new modern diesel, it's always like same with food. When there was like a food scandal, usually after that the stuff is cleaner, because they pay more attention after getting more pressure. It's really weird that it has to be that way, in our society, that there has to be a scandal first and then things get better. They should get better in advance by themselves, but that's how it is. So overall, also when you have some slight acceleration, again, good positive feeling. So if you want the most fuel-saving engine, but at the same time, you won't miss so much power, I think it's overall a good choice. 9.9, so just let's say 10 seconds, by the way, is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour for this engine. And by the way, now after driven some time, the seats again giving me good feedback actually, and they're quite comfortable. Also had to put this front part out for the longer legs. So I really like those seats, not only visual wise, but also from the comfort. Maybe they could, for taller people, be a little bit bigger. You feel that the overall concept of this car is that you shouldn't be 190 in meters or 6'2", 6'3". It's rather built for people that are a little bit smaller than that. You do feel that. And we also talked about that indeed different manufacturers have somehow a different, let's say, standard size of a driver. Like where they say this car is working, between a different size span. And it's really, there was, been doing some background talks about that. Sometimes it really depended also on the, on one of the highest ranking CEOs, when he then was doing the test in the vehicles, and maybe the CEO was very tall, saying like, wait a minute, tall people cannot sit in here properly, rebuild that. And then everyone's like, damn, we have to do it again. So it's really interesting how the single CEOs can also have an influence on for which exact size, the standard size, a car seat is being laid out. Pretty interesting. So now some countryside roads. Again, the car is giving me a good feeling. So, what they've recently done with the new platform, we had the same with the 3008. They've really done a good job. And there was really a time where we could say, yeah, you have to be a Peugeot fan, that we could really tell you can, easily buy a Peugeot. But now, especially with this one here and also the 3008 or the 5008, they really have some unique character to their cars again, which I really like. And also, in the hard facts we can test, they're really scoring very well. So, yeah, mentioned a lot of pros and also some cons. Overall, I think a good result here also in the driving part. is a unique and also quite fun car. Not the sportiest for sure, but it doesn't have to be. A little bit more direct steering maybe. Yeah, the climate control, we can argue about that. And also with a decent consumption here with the diesel. What do you think? So now to the conclusion of the Peugeot 508 or 508. Well, this new generation is really different than the previous one. We could all agree that the exterior styling is really superb. Also the interior, we knew it already from the Peugeot 3008, which they also share the platform with. A very unique styling, very cool, very modern, this really airplane cockpit style layout. Then also with great seats and also different stylings available there, also in a sustainable way, so they really know their stuff. Well, there's a little bit, lacking of legroom in the rear compartment. That's the only thing I can criticize there. Yeah, and maybe about the climate control. I like to have separate knobs, but maybe am I too old school for that? Tell me. Well, and then of course there will be the SW, the estate version, if you want some more room in the rear end part. Yeah, overall also with driving the car, it gives, a good and rather soft experience. It's sporty in a more visual way than it is driving wise, but again, that's not too bad. The steering could be a little bit more direct, but the greatest thing is that, especially here with the diesel, the fuel economy is really decent. So overall, I think a very hot competitor here in the mid-size segment. Or what do you think, guys?